Now, a little over a year ago, I decided to switch from using the Bloom tandem undermount drawer slides and trying out these, which are the Salice F70 drawer slide. Now, since then, I have been using these in just about every single project, and there are a lot of reasons why, and I haven't looked back since changing. Now, before I get into this, I do have a video that shows exactly how to go about installing these drawer slides, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link up top, and I'll also leave it down in the video description if you want to watch it after this video. But as somebody who has been using these and doing videos like that, I get asked often, especially on the installation video, is this a replacement to the Bloom tandem drawer slide? The Bloom tandem drawer slide is this slide right here. This particular model is the 563H, which is a very common undermount drawer slide, and I have used this drawer slide for probably 2 to 3 years and had excellent success with it. The way that I answer that question to everybody is that no, this is not a replacement to the Bloom tandem because this is a superior slide to the tandem in every way, shape, and form. It's actually not a fair comparison to compare this F70 slide to the tandem because this is more comparable to Bloom's higher end line, which is called the Movento. So long story short, no, to be fair, that is not a replacement for the tandem. There hasn't been a replacement for the tandem from Salice on something that is in the similar price category until now. These are Salice's newest slide to the market. These are the Progressa. The Progressa is now the direct competitor to Bloom's tandem line that you see here. So like Bloom with the tandem and Movento line, we now have the Progressa, and what was referred to as the F70 is now the Progressa Plus. So the Progressa Plus comparable to the Movento, the Progressa comparable to the tandem. Now when I say comparable, I'm using that very loosely because in terms of quality and in terms of functionality, there is no comparison between the two, and in this video I'm going to show you why that is. Now the first thing that I want to highlight is this right here is the Progressa, Salice's new slide. This right here is the Bloom tandem. And if you put these two slides side by side, the very first thing that you can notice is the additional material use in the Salice slide versus the Bloom. So that's the first key thing. The second is that this actually has an adjustment built into the slide. This adjustment right here is what allows you to raise the front of your box up or down if needed. So it is integrated into the slide, not to the clip. And finally, the biggest difference that you're going to see between these two slides, which is the action. The Salice slide, the Progressa, is considered a progressive action slide, and the Bloom tandem is not. And what that means, if I take these two pieces, they move independently from one another. Now, why does that matter? That matters because there's a lot more ability for it to rack or shift, especially when you get into the wider slides, just because they're not perfectly calibrated to one another. And that's the real big difference here. If I was to put my finger right here and stop this from moving back, I cannot move these independently. They only operate together, as you can see here, and that is known as a progressive action. And that is what makes these slides so unique. Now, how do they do that? Well, if we flip the slides over, you'll notice what's really, truly great about these is this rack and pinion system with this gear right here. This is what allows that slide to operate in perfect unison with an opposing slide. That's something that you will not get on this slide. And in order for you to get it with Bloom, you would have to upgrade to the Movento line in order to do so. So now we have the same great features in that higher end price category for a slide in a much cheaper comparable price to the Bloom tandem. What is really impressive to me is that Salice took what they did in the F70, now the Progressa Plus, and they put that same technology at a comparable price point to the Bloom tandem, and they offer that in now the Progressa slide. So now you don't have to spend the additional money to get the same great features. Now what makes that rack and pinion system so great is that one, it is going to synchronize the slides with each other. You are going to get a lot smoother operation out of these slides than you are with something like the tandem. Now one other downside to the Bloom Movento slides is that in a lot of cases they do require the use of a stabilizer bar. And what that does is it gets the two slides in perfect unison with one another when using push to open. Now with the Salice Progressa and the Progressa Plus, you don't need that. Matter of fact, they don't even have what's called a stabilizer rod. What they call it is a push to open synchronization. And it is not required on any drawer under 30 inches. And even when you get to 30 inches wide, it still isn't necessarily required. It can just help with the process. And honestly, it's gonna cover about 99% of what most people would be using it for. Next, I want to touch on compatibility. And one thing that I think is really great is that Salice has made it as easy as possible for their customers. And what I mean by that is that everything works with each other. There isn't this laundry list of things that you have to get depending on the situation. When it comes to the drawer slides, the Progressa and the Progressa Plus, if I wanted to switch between those two slides, it is simple as me just taking out the old and putting in the new. And what I mean by that is, let's say that I decided to use the Progressa and I had a certain amount of weight that was in that drawer. And we're going to talk about weight in just a moment. Well, let's say that I decided to change that drawer to hold something that was significantly heavier. For example, I went from storing my silverware to it is now a cast iron pot and pan drawer, and because of that, I need to increase that weight a little bit. Here's what's great. I can take this slide out and I can replace it with the Progressa Plus, and it will literally clip into the same clip. None of the measurements change. Everything just works. As opposed to if I was going to do that with Bloom and switch from the Tandem to the Movento, it wouldn't be the same. There are factors that would change things like the height of the drawer and the placement of the drawer. Now I know you're probably saying like, yeah, but that's a very rare case. And you're right, it is a very rare case. But the bottom line is that if you needed to do it, you can, and you don't need to go spend money on additional things or rebuild a drawer box to match the hardware that you're using. Next thing I want to talk about is clips. So with Salice, with their standard clips, they have a 6-way adjustability in their slides and their clip. Again, this is the primary clip that you're going to use for most applications. And one difference I will say between the clips is that this one, we have a metal base. This one is primarily plastic mixed with metal. So just a little bit better build quality between the two clips. But it comes standard with 6-way adjustability: left, right, up, down, in, and out. The up and down portion of it actually being on the slide itself. So we can go left or right with the clip or adjust the depth by going in or out. Now, that's another thing that Salice has over Bloom, and that is the depth adjustment. With Salice, you're going to get 3 millimeters inward depth adjustment and 3 millimeters outward. That is standard. With Bloom, you actually would have to buy an additional piece, and you're only going to get 2 inward, 2 outward for a total of 4 millimeters. So you get more adjustability standard with the Salice clips versus the Bloom. And on top of that, Bloom has different clips that will give you more or less adjustment within the clip. So if you want to have that extra adjustability, you actually have to buy the right clips in order to do that. One other thing that makes it really great, so if you're somebody like me that was using Bloom for a very long time, the learning curve to switching from one to the other was really, really simple because for the most part, everything lines up exactly the same. And that's the next thing that I want to highlight is that if you are somebody that is using another brand, they have really gone to great lengths to add all of these additional mounting options to where it will fall in line with whatever brand it is that you're currently using. So whatever system you have for punching those holes, it's not going to change anything. It's as easy as me just grabbing the new slide, and you don't have to change anything for that. Next, I'm going to cover some of the administrative facts of these slides. So with the Progressa, they are currently offered in a 15, an 18, and a 21-inch version. They do have a 9 and a 12-inch version that is currently in the works, but for now, those are the 3 sizes. If you needed to go over 21, say to 24, then you would go with the Progressa Plus. Typically, when you get into the larger drawer slides, they're obviously probably going to be used to hold more weight, and that's the next piece that I want to talk about, and that is the weight capacity. So one key thing that I want to mention is that the new Progressa slides pass the ANSI Level 1 testing, which is a very stringent test on drawer slides. It ensures that you have a very durable, solid drawer slide that passes that rigorous test. Matter of fact, Salice is the first company to have passed that test with 21-inch drawer slides. But the way that they test it is in two ways, dynamic load and static load. Static load refers to the drawer box closed with the amount of weight sitting on top of the slides directly. Then we have what's called dynamic load. Dynamic load is with the drawer box pulled all the way out with the weight in it. Now, these have a dynamic load rating of 100 pounds. That is for the Progressa. So you get more load capacity on the Progressa than you do the Bloom Tandem. Moving on to the Progressa Plus, we have a dynamic load of 154 pounds, which is actually higher than both Movento models, which you have a standard Movento and then you have a heavy-duty Movento. These are actually higher than the heavy-duty slides from Bloom. Couple of other things. If you're looking for a push-to-open option, then the Progressa Plus is going to be the option for you. Now, when it comes to material size that you can use with the new Progressa slides, you can use up to 5/8 inch material with these slides in particular, but they do have an offering for 3/4 inch as well. And for those of you that are wondering where they manufacture these, well, they're actually manufactured 100% in Italy. They are 100% Italian made. So throughout this video, I've been talking about comparable pricing. I just want to hit on that a little bit. And at the end of the day, the bottom line is this. The Progressa slides are going to be competitively priced to the Bloom Tandem. So now we do not just have that offering, we actually have a slide that has more capacity and better functionality at a similar price point. Now, when it comes to the Movento, there's actually two models of the Movento. We have the standard duty and we have what's known as the heavy duty. So each one is two different prices. The heavy duty ones are actually more expensive. Well, with the Salice Progressa Plus, it is actually right in between those two options. And again, you get more functionality, more capacity at a lower price point with the Progressa Plus. Now again, I want to make it very clear. I have always really enjoyed using the Bloom slides. They make a fantastic product. There is no denying that. But now that I have had the opportunity to use both of these and see the comparisons between the two, to me, it just doesn't make any sense from a usability standpoint, from a price standpoint, from a quality standpoint. This slide changes things in the undermount drawer slide game. I get more usability all around and I get a smoother operation because of it. So moving forward, I have absolutely no plans on moving back to Bloom Tandem drawer slides. There's just no reason to, because my experience with the Progressa line of slides has been fantastic. So if you want to find out where you can get it, I will leave a link to their dealer locator directly on the Salice website. You can search your area, find out who is a retailer, and of course there's various places online that you can order these slides as well. Hopefully you guys found that information helpful, and until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.